Hi everyone, welcome to the day two of the Spring 2026 Student Research and Innovation Showcase. We'll wait one more minute to let everybody in and we'll kickstart. All right. Hello everyone, welcome to day two of the Spring 2026 Student Research and Innovation Showcase, hosted by the Leadership and Innovation Lab. For anyone joining us for the first time today, I'm Emily. I'm delighted to be your host. If yesterday was any indication, we're in for another inspiring morning. Day two brings more student presentations spanning education, health, design, and social impact. And we'll close with one of the highlights of our entire calendar, the announcement of the Lil Venture Fund Awards for the May to November 2026 funding cycle. The Fund is something we're especially proud of. It's a point where students' ideas stop being just ideas, where promising projects receive real funding to take their next concrete step. We'll have a great deal to celebrate by the end of this morning. But first, our presenters, our students joining us from around the world, each will have about 10 minutes to share the work. So let's give them our full attention and our warmest encouragement. All right, let's get started. Our first presentation this morning is called Top SOJ. Please join me in welcoming Victor Wen, who will introduce us his project. All right, Victor, do you want to try to share your screen?
That sounds good.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. So, my name is Victor, and I'm here to present to you my personal project today called Tops OJ. We are a nonprofit organization based in Ontario, Canada, and our primary goal is to help people get better at contest math. Sorry, my screen's a bit laggy. Okay, there we go. Yeah. So, there's a lot of different things we provide to our users, but just on the base level, what we provide is a collection of different math contests. So from like all for spanning a long period of time from different styles of contests, this is what we set out to achieve originally. And what we wanted to do was provide users some motivation to keep studying contest math because like with many other things, I think we can all share this common experience. But we're often really motivated in one thing, but after a while, the motivation disappears and it's hard to keep up the consistency, right? And what we want to try to do was we try to implement like different reward systems that reward consistency, right? And just going off this idea of like motivation, we also have a really large community base that I'm really proud of, over 1,000 users on Discord. And what I believe is that if you're able to put yourself into a community where you're alongside a lot of different people who share the same goals as you and the same goals, right? You're going to work really hard and have a lot of motivation to achieve these goals because you don't want to get left behind. And just one more thing that we offer on a base level is our competitions. We host two yearly competitions um, that are unique that we create. We get our staff members, over 15 different problem setters, to create unique contest questions, and we compile them into two different contests that we host, one at the start of the year and one in the summer. So before I talk about what I want to talk about today, which is promotion, I want to give a quick step-by-step timeline of what I did over the years to help achieve this wonderful. community that we have right now. So starting all the way back in 2024, our original goal, like I said, was to just create a large problem bank of over 8,000 questions, I think we have in there. Our goal was just to create a large problem bank and then host bi-yearly contests, right? But quickly, we wanted to add some like a unique twist onto our things, right? And our first idea was just to give like a simple reward system where we can reward people for completing questions or for participating in contests and scoring well. We would create this into like a leaderboard system where people are ranked based on their points, and we ended up creating a ranked system too, just to really dive into this aspect of like trying to motivate people based on this like reward system that it's really popular among like younger people where like if you assign them like a certain leaderboard ranking, they feel motivated to like try to beat their friends or something like that. And this idea kind of extended to our problem of the day, which is like a daily question that can give people like extra reward points for completing. And this also ties back to the idea of consistency. It's like the like what I like to think of is the LinkedIn games, right? If anyone plays the LinkedIn games, they're like daily puzzle games, right? And you would log in to your LinkedIn account to play them because you want to keep your streak going. You don't want to lose your like, I don't know, 100-day long streak that you have going. And in the process, you check your games and then, you're on the app already. So you want to like, network with people a little bit, respond to your messages. So it's that type of concept that we're trying to implement. And we moved on to our mini games next, which is just a set of like different, they're really unique, but just on the base level, they're like a generator. They're a custom generator where you're able to input different variables. For example, our mental math mini game, you're able to input different variables such as like what type of mental math you want to practice, like addition, multiplication, whether it's like a combination of them, how big you want your numbers to be, like how many rounds you want to do, how much time you want to spend on each round, and how you want to score it. Just things like that, like a variety of customization to allow our users to customize their experience and practice the way they want to practice. And we really like this idea, and we extended it onto the mock generator, which is basically if you've done any like contests in the past, you would know that like the best way to practice for a contest is to do a practice contest, right? It makes sense. But oftentimes people have already done all the previous, years, the practice contest. And what we do is instead of having them practice off these, we create a mock generator where you're able to input different variables such as like what kind of contest I want to do, like how many questions, or you could just select off one of the, simple math contests such as like the AMC, right? And then it would generate you a new unique contest that you've never seen before based off the similar difficulty of the AMC. And lastly, just a few months ago, we were able to launch our mobile app, which we've been developing for around a year now. And we've launched it on iOS, but it's coming to Android really soon. It's just Top Soje on, the App Store if anyone wants to look it up. And to quickly go through some accomplishments we've reached, you can just take a look at the ones on the screen. I'm not going to go into detail with them, but something we're really proud of is we were able to reach more than 120 different countries um, on our website, and we're actually really proud of that because it took quite a lot of years. I think we were at around 90 countries last year, and we were able to push it to 120 this year. So that's pretty nice. And another thing that is pretty nice is that we were able to get we spiked in our user base, like our active user account just in January this year. So it was basically when we hosted our previous math contest, which was we host one at the start of the year and we host one at the summer, right? So when we hosted at the start of the year during January, we peaked in our active user base, and I think we had around 12K users during that month. So that's really nice to see that, the hard work we've been putting in has really been paying off, and we've been, our contests have been getting better and better, and people are more involved in them. So moving on to what I really wanted to talk about today, which was the promotional aspect. So if anyone really ever goes on to try to like, start their own organization or just anything related to promotion where you want to get your brand out there, this is what I've experienced with, pursuing this project of mine. And this is what has worked for me. It might not work for you exactly, But I hope you could like take some ideas from this and maybe twist it a little bit to get it to work for you or whatever you want to do with it. So the main thing I want to stress is that when you're trying to promote your organization or anything, you don't want to be chasing anything such as like profit, like popularity, followers on Instagram. These are not things that you want to chase. What you want to do is really build like a loyal community, right? For us, this has just been on Discord because this is what most of our users are most active on. And we were able to build a really strong community. And as a result, we were able to, constantly reel in people into our contests, like just loyal people who come back every single year. And when doing this, like what worked for me was just starting at like the base level, right? Going back to, your friends and family, people who are there constantly by your side to help you. You would go to them, just ask them, could you check out my website? And this helps a lot, honestly, because it's like click-through rates, and then Google recommends your websites to more people when they search it up. So it's just small things like that. They really matter. And then going off this idea, you could reach out to, different connections that you have, ask them, could you like advertise my new project for me? And the same concept extends to cold emails. It's just that, you're emailing random companies that you don't quite know. But, you guys both work in the same field, you guys have similar interests, you're just asking them, I could offer you this, you could offer me this in return, and maybe someone will accept. And this has been honestly like a pretty good source of partnership for us. For example, we were able to secure a nice partnership with Three Blue One Brown, which is like a pretty big YouTube channel with like 8 million subscribers, I think, on YouTube. And this was just through like cold emailing because we both do something in the math field, and we were seeing if he wanted to support us, and he did. So the next thing is the website and social media. There's like a conflict between the two. People sometimes think that the most important touch point is your social media because it's most likely going to be your first touch point with your audience. And this is true. Most people, they get their advertisement out through social media to like broaden your reach towards your audience. But at the end of the day, the biggest, most important touch point is going to have to be your website at the end of the day. Because, for example, you could get a million views on Instagram or a million likes even, but majority of the people there, they don't care about what you actually have to offer. It's only like the 1%, like for example, like 1,000 people on that video who actually somewhat care about what you actually have to offer for them. And these are the people that you care about. And what they're going to do is they're going to go to your website, they're going to search you up, go to your website and check you out to see like, are you legitimate? Like, what do you actually offer? Is this something I want to like invest myself into, right? So that's why I think that the website is the most important touch point that you have for your brand. And this is why you should really invest in a lot of time to really perfect your website and make it look good too. And putting all these things together, this is what I believe will is like the best way, like the most structural and foundational way that you could just take and copy to try to build a community. And this is where I think everyone should start when trying to like go about promotion. So thank you guys all for listening. That's all I have to offer. Again, my name is Victor Wen, and our organization is called Tops OJ. Here's the link to our website and the link to our Discord. At the bottom of our website, you could see the links to our other social media accounts too. I would really recommend you join our Discord server as it's where we post all of our announcements and all our opportunities too. Thank you guys.
Thank you so much, Victor. That was a great way to open this morning. So our next presentation takes on a subject that for far too long has been treated as something to whisper about rather than something to solve. It's called Period Unlimited and addresses menstrual health and the very real barriers that still surround it. So please welcome Scarlett Liu. Scarlett, over to you. Do you want to share your screen?
Yeah, sure, of course.
Thank you.
Is it good?
Yeah, we can see it.
Oh, sorry, just give me a second. Sorry. Okay, I can start now.
Sure.
Hi, everyone. My name is Scarlett. I'm in grade 11. I go to Havergal, and I'm so excited to share my project with you. So I started Period Unlimited, which is, yes, a nonprofit dedicated to menstrual equity last year with Lil as a revamp of a similar project I did in grade 8. So, what's our organization's mission? Well, let's start from the beginning. In 1978, Gloria Steinem, this woman positioned over here, published her essay, If Men Could Menstruate, and she flipped the script on menstrual taboos and exposed the sexism behind societal power dynamics. So I read it in grade 8, forever changing how I view oppression and, of course, periods. And really, our mission is very simple. We want to eradicate the lies and biases we view periods through by dismantling stigmatizing man-made frameworks, just like Gloria did. Okay, I stole this from our website. I think this sums it up pretty well. We don't want pretty metaphors or covert euphemisms. Our guiding principle is a search for objective truth and indisputable facts. And why? I I know you might be wondering why periods, why health, and stigma. So I've always been incredibly enthusiastic about law and argumentation, which is why I've always known the topic of period health would be a perfect fit for me. And just bear with me here. So in developed countries in 2026, period stigma, shame, and embarrassment is bizarrely still so prevalent, which is something I couldn't quite comprehend at a young age because the attitude is a walking hypocrisy. Periods are a biological prerequisite for human survival, and somehow still a shameful flaw. So, this is one of our most recent posters. And if you look closely at my bio section, you'll see that my why takes on a bit of a personal angle as well. I say for the pains of my sister, my aunt, my teachers, and every girl reading this text now. My two vice presidents also have their own unique reasons as well. You see, 50 to 90% of people who menstruate have period pain, and my sister and my aunt are no exception. Their faces are shown here. They have particularly awful cramps and complications, and so do many of my closest friends, some of whom are paralyzed by the pain, bedridden with symptoms they never knew that could come with periods, like the flu or cold symptoms or foot pain and fainting, all of which are never talked about in health or biology classes. And on the right, you'll see a poster we recently made for an exhibition with yet more statistics and associated news and headlines. And here's that a little bit more up close. If you want to just read it. Okay, well, now I just want to turn to how it started. Here is kind of the origin story of our whole entire timeline. So one of my first projects in grade 9 was organizing a period product drive with my school. We donated all of the donations to New Circles, which is a charity that provides necessities for families in need. And we ended up filling up the huge bin almost to the brim, although I never got a photo of it, obviously. This is in the beginning stages. Here, I also feel the need to highlight something very important. Yes, of course, fundraising and period product provision is a mandatory first step. It goes on basically the first tier of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. However, tampons and pads are temporary solutions. They run out extremely rapidly, and honestly, there needs to be something more hard cut and something to address the root of the issue. So, now it's been a few years since that first moment, and I've centered my organization instead around social media and online discourse rather than in-person events. Our main platform is TikTok, but we also post blogs and argumentative articles in Medium and Substack. Here are some of those blogs. So obviously we write and we focus on what's relevant to current events and women's lives. The gender pain gap, for example, is a phenomenon where women's pain is more frequently dismissed, misdiagnosed, and undertreated than men, as you can see here. Other articles may talk about the economy, may talk about history, and may talk about culture. So these are just some screenshots I've taken of reporting and activism from our social media. I think the overall collage summarizes our work pretty nicely. We do educational posts, exhibitions, awareness campaigns, and many, many, many videos analyzing women's pain, medical dismissal, and so on. If you want to just quickly read over here, you can see we talk about what's relevant to right now, which is this recent Apollo launch. And we talk about endometriosis when it was Endometriosis Awareness Month. So we try to be very timely and relevant. Now I want to talk a little bit about a very recent success that we have, which was CYCS, the Canadian Youth Club Summit in 2026. So we had an amazing opportunity to be part of this event where Canadian youth innovators get a chance to present various projects to a large audience. And I was there as an MC, and we showcased Period Unlimited. Proud to say ours was one of the most populated booths. So I put various photos over here. Clearly, you can see we got a hands-on activity involved, the period cramp simulator, which countless boys, dads, and even CYCS judges tried, as well as some girls who don't get period cramps and wanted to see how it feels for their friends. And while it's definitely entertaining to watch people react to the high pain levels, it's also genuinely insightful. A lot of people had really deep revelations and reactions and also objectives going in, hoping to empathize with their moms, daughters, friends, or just women in general. Of course, before that moment, they never realized how intense period cramps could really be, and it created a really interesting sharing and learning experience where people could ask questions openly, compare experiences, and better understand something they may never personally go through. And that's exactly the kind of dialogue we hope to encourage here. Okay, now it's time to address something a little more difficult, which is our biggest challenges. So, of course, it's a no-brainer. Yes, our biggest challenge is, of course, the shame and the discomfort people might feel with periods that is 100% still existent to this day. Many people, despite all of the progress we've made in this century and in many, many, many recent decades, still feel a little embarrassment, to feel the need to lower their voice when talking about periods. And many people, many girls have privately approached me after presentations or events or after most recent TikTok posts to tell me what their worst period story was, or to ask questions, or to share symptoms they were confused and worried about. But they would apologize for bringing it up and ask if it was too much information. Um, and I would ask them to share the story, send in a story so we could post it on our TikTok, but they would say no because they just didn't feel comfortable with it, even with a voice changer or a face changer. And I think that really says something about all the work that Period Unlimited still has to accomplish. Another challenge we've definitely faced is misinformation. So there are still countless myths surrounding periods, hormones, and reproductive health. Of course, there's also normalization of suffering. Periods are super common, and there's a lot of doctors out there who you will come in with really severe symptoms and they will just tell you that it's no big deal, that this is just normal. And this is a huge problem because oftentimes you don't know, but you have underlying more serious medical diagnoses that need to be seen. And common does not mean insignificant. Even if you don't have a more severe diagnosis, that does not mean you should just suffer through pain. You need to seek out treatment, and we need better treatments to be developed by pharmaceutical companies. So I think those are our biggest challenges. All of them contribute to a harder time expanding and reaching more people. Well, still, I want to talk about direction and partnerships because these are mental challenges, which means they're very possible to overcome. And one such way of overcoming them is by expanding and partnering with similar nonprofits. We're now collaborating with Period, one of the largest youth-led period nonprofits, to produce articles, newsletters, media posts, and potentially in-person events like their period product packing parties, which we'll be collaborating with them on soon. Another organization, which is Free Periods Canada, we're going to be conducting an in-person street interview with them about period knowledge in the summer. And we'll be attending their panel event called Making Space for Periods tomorrow on Monday, which is really exciting. And finally, we'll be meeting soon with Monthly Dignity over here to figure out possible co-initiatives together and see where things align. So there's so many opportunities in Canada, of course, that we can reach out to. And similar to the first speaker, these were cold emails. You just have to take the risk because you never know where things are going to lead you. And oftentimes people are really, really willing to help. And it's really beautiful, honestly. It's just a reflection of how much people want to help each other when both organizations know that they're going in the same direction and there's nowhere to go but up. Okay, now because we're almost wrapping up, I just wanted to reiterate our purpose and how we make a difference. Because it really is just changing minds, one step, one video, and one interaction at a time. Knowledge is truly a power, which is why we not only do detailed posts, but also in-person trivias and interviews like real-life Kahoots. They range from wild and hilarious videos to horrifying and sad, and they give the community and others online a way of saying you're not just alone. We often look externally to see who we can help. We look beyond our immediate communities, but the truth is, your school, your friends, and maybe your church or your sports team might need you as well. And it's a beautiful thing to share that moment with those who are close to you and share something that makes you feel vulnerable because it really brings you closer together. Now, finally, something incredible that we want to share with you today is something that Period Unlimited pitched, brainstormed, and is leading right now, which is Havergal's intergenerational women's health event, which is taking place in the fall. Havergal students will bring a family member, an older woman with them, for a choose your own adventure night where you can pick which women's health related topics you want to listen in on. And it's going to be absolutely huge. We're still in the planning stages, but we know we're inviting NYX's Joanna Griffiths, a CEO of Period Underwear, who is a global phenomenon. And we're inviting Loom, which is a health clinic in Toronto dedicated entirely to sex-specific preventative care for women. We're going to be inviting OBGYNs, pediatricians, and cardiologists to run their presentations for a night of learning, understanding, and becoming closer with women from different generations. For example, your mom. So we're super excited for that. And thank you so much. We really do appreciate your time. I really hope you've learned something and you feel empowered to start your own initiative or address a topic that has similar taboos that other people might be too scared to talk about. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Scarlett. That is important and necessary work. So our next presentation is called Design to Smile. And I'll add a little small note that I love. Michaela is also part of this season's incoming group of Lil Venture Fund limited partners. So she's helping to shape the next chapter of the lab from more than just one seat. So please welcome Michaela. Michaela's floor is yours. Do you want to share your screen?
Yes. Can you see it?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, great. So, good morning, everyone. I'm Michaela, and I started Design to Smile, and our goal is to design generosity at checkout. The goal is to make generosity a simple choice. We create and test point of sale giving campaigns, then share what worked so others can repeat it. We start with design. We design thoughtful campaigns with clear empathy prompts. Then we test what messaging drives participation. We deliver donations to community partners in one consolidated drop-off and share what worked so students everywhere can replicate it. So I'm the founder. My name is Michaela Vernick, and I grew up in Chicago, and now I live in Miami, Florida. I love design, baking, and entrepreneurship. So my passion for this and how I got this idea to create Design Smile was through volunteering at an organization called Fight to Feed while I was a middle schooler. I baked and donated over 1,000 cookies and saw how small acts of change could affect both the giver and the receiver. And now I'm a high schooler and I'm building Design to Smile to make giving easy, repeatable, and scalable. So the big idea, what if what if checkout was a moment of generosity? So every day, millions of people walk up to a checkout counter. A simple prompt, buy one more, can turn the moment into a donation, a connection, and a smile. Through just a retailer partner, one extra item, a community partner, and this all leads to smiles. So how buy one more works? 1, choose a cause and partners. 1 retail partner, 1 community partner, 1 clear mission. 2, point of sale signage, stickers, and 2 to 3 empathy driven message variations. and those are used to entice the customer to buy an extra item at the retail partner location. 3, run the campaign. Students are prompted to add one extra item. Items are set aside and tallied. 4, deliver plus smiles. One consolidated drop-off to community partner, and that's where the smiles are made. And 5, share what worked. Publish what's so students everywhere can replicate it and learn from your successes and things to improve on. So the inaugural campaign was on May 1st. It was the Thinking of You campaign, and it was located at the Coral Gables Activity Center. It reached over 125 seniors, and it was a huge hit. Seniors loved it, and they were very grateful that someone in their community wanted to share treats with them and wanted to be around them. So about the campaign, it was mini donuts assorted and with a sticker says thinking of you. It had 3 custom signs at the display table, such as dear friend, and then a message thinking of you, and you're celebrated, and then a note that was given out that was dear friend. And then the second campaign so far was May 19th, so just this past week, and it was at the Palace Community Residential Community Center, and over 50 seniors were reached, and they loved it. They were so grateful. And these are some photos from the event. We packaged the sweets very nicely, and they were really appreciative, and they loved the sweet choice. And then the journey and how I built it. The idea from 175 plus smiles to back to the idea. So 1, I started with an idea, a personal connection to loneliness in seniors. I saw a gap and I wanted to fill it. 2, I built the brand website and created an email address. Designed the visual identity, created designtosmile.org, which is our website, set up an email, and developed all campaigns individually. 3, pitched retail partners on Buy One More. Created sales pitch materials, showed up in person, discussed pricing, discussed point of sale integration, and how to make it simple to execute, because that was a big thing that retail partners wanted. So it's simple and it's a minor lift for them. 4, identified the first 2 community partners, went door to door to make local connections, secured an adult activity center and a residential community. 5, designed the full campaign kit, point of sale signs, stickers, labels, event signs, student toolkit, and retail pitch package. And these are all built. And then lastly, delivered 170 plus smiles and more to come in the future. Obstacles and how I worked through them. Finding a retail partner takes time. So the campaign needs to fit inside a retailer's existing operating system so that their staff has minimal lift, simple tracking, and no disruption. Second, building the brand from scratch, designing every sign, every label, every sticker in a document without a team or budget while also running the campaign. I learned as I went, and every asset is now in the toolkit that others will be able to use for their benefit. And then getting everything to line up at once. Retail partner, community partner, campaign timing, materials, they all need to align before you can launch, which by building a checklist that has helped me be able to run those campaigns. 4, providing the concept before pitching. Retailers want to see evidence it works before committing. Through the May 1 and May 19th deliveries, those are seen as proof, and now we have 2 confirmed retailers for August of 2026. The bigger vision. Buy One More is bigger than one campaign. Any student, any city, any cause, the model is designed to be replicated. 2 retail partners confirmed for fall 2026, and Buy One More goes live. Consumer insights published after every campaign, what messaging works and why, and those are located on the website. So the toolkit, which will be coming summer 2026. What's inside? A campaign checklist plus timeline. Retail community outreach scripts. Point of sale signs. Sticker design templates. Packaging, logistics guide. Tracking sheet, impact, recap, risk, and a permission checklist. A small act, simple system, but creates big smiles. So the road ahead. In fall 2026, Buy One More launches. 2 confirmed retail partners. Buy One More goes live at checkout. Real customers, real donations, real data. 2020 Summer 2026 toolkit is published. Open source student toolkit goes live on designtosmile.org. Any student, any city can run a Buy One More campaign. 2027 and after. National recognition. Students across the country run campaigns using the toolkit. Design to Smile becomes a recognized giving framework. So, Buy One More item, infinite smiles. Design to Smile is building a world where generosity is a simple choice at checkout. Designed by students for communities everywhere. So you can find more on designtosmile.org. And thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Michaela. That was good. So our final presentation of the entire showcase is Youth Lens Initiative. Please join me and welcome Tim Chen. Tim, do you want to share your screen?
Yeah, sure thing.
Oh, I think Michaela is still sharing your screen. Please, can you please stop sharing? Oh, awesome. Thank you. Yeah, we can see it.
All right, can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
All right, I want you to picture a 12-year-old girl living in North Philadelphia. Every day she walks home past the same blocked off parks, the same boarded up storefronts. Every night she opens Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and she's immediately inside a world of images, hundreds of them, some real, some filtered beyond recognition, some manufactured entirely by artificial intelligence. The flood never stops, and not a single adult in her life, not a teacher, not a counselor, not a community program, has ever handed her the tools to ask, is this real? Who made this? Whose story is this, and whose is missing? Your story matters, now tell it. No one has said that to her either, and that is what the Youth Lens Initiative is here to change. Let me give you the numbers and let me tell you what they actually mean. According to the Pew Research Center's December 2024 survey of over 1,300 US teenagers, 46% of teens say they are online almost constantly, not daily, constantly. That figure has nearly doubled since 2014. We're not talking about occasional screen time. We're talking about an entire generation whose formative years are being lived inside a continuous, unfiltered stream of visual content. Now, here is where it gets dangerous. A 2025 report by Common Sense Media surveying 1,000 US teenagers aged 13 to 18 found that 35% of teens have been actively deceived by fake or AI generated content. Not confused, not uncertain, deceived. And 72% of those teens said experience changed how they evaluate everything they see online going forward. Think about what that means. Nearly 3 in 4 young people required a deception to happen to them before they developed any critical eye. The education is arriving after the damage. We are awaiting for children to be misled and then expecting them to self-correct. That is not a media literacy strategy. That is negligence dressed up as inevitability. And this problem does not fall equally. In under-resourced communities, arts programs, the very classes that build visual literacy, critical thinking, and self-expression, are the first to disappear when budgets tighten. National data from the NCS and NEA consistently show that students in the high-poverty schools receive substantially less arts instruction. The decline of arts education has been felt most severely in low-performing, low-income districts, precisely the communities that would benefit most. My name is Tim Chen, and I want to be honest about why I'm the right person to build this. Not just list credentials, but explain what they actually mean for this program. I'm a student, and that is not a liability. That is the most single important qualification I have. Every adult-run youth program faces the same invisible wall. Young people can tell the difference between someone who genuinely understands their world and someone performing empathy from the outside. I understand the visual culture, the platforms, the pressure, and the specific kinds of numbness that comes from consuming too many images with too little meaning. I can build something that students actually want to be a part of, not something they feel obligated to attend. I also bring a real photography background with my own photography business called TC Flicks, also with direct nonprofit work in under-resourced Philadelphia communities and active research on arts education equity grounded in photo voice methodology, random arts education data, and Brookings SEL research. I've already built and deployed the web platform. I've already designed the full curriculum and trained the trainer certification pathway. This model can be replicated without me in the room, and that is by design. A school district or camera brand could fund a workshop. None of them can build something that feels like it belongs to the student it serves. That is the unfair advantage this initiative has. Excuse me. The students the Youth Lens Initiative serves are 10 to 14-year-olds, grades 5 through 8. But I want to explain why this age group specifically, because it is not arbitrary. Eric Erickson's foundational framework of psychosocial development, still the most widely cited model in developmental psychology, identifies adolescence as a critical stage of identity formation, the period when young people construct their fundamental theory of self. Who am I? What do I believe? Where do I belong? And more recent research narrows this further, showing that the groundwork for that process is laid between ages 10 and 13. This is the window before high school, before the social pressure hardens, before the identity has been already written for them by someone else. The problem is that most structured youth arts programs do not begin until age 14 or older. By the time they arrive, most formative development window has already passed. The Youth Lens Initiative is designed specifically to work inside that window, ages 10 to 14, because that is when creative expression is not just enriching, it is identity forming. These students live in communities where arts programs have been cut or never existed. They consume images and media every day but have never been taught to question them. They carry perspectives, experiences, and stories that are genuinely worth telling, stories that reflect their neighborhoods, their families, their fears, and their pride, and nobody has ever asked for them. Often they have been pushed into silence not by any single person, by an accumulation of circumstances, underfunded schools, absent mentorship, and the quiet grinding message that creativity is a luxury reserved for someone else's children. If you don't tell your story, someone else will, and they will probably get it wrong. The Youth Lens Initiative runs on 5 interconnected components, and I want to explain why each one matters. The workshop is free, 4 sessions with real cameras. Free because the moment you change anything you already exclude the students who need this the most. Real cameras because asking a student to photograph their life on a cracked phone screen sends a message about how much their story is worth. The archive permanently preserves every photograph, caption, and reflection every student produces. That permanence is intentional. When you tell a young person from an under-resourced community that their work will last, that it will be findable from years now, you are telling them the opposite of what their environment has been telling them their whole lives. The exhibition is a real public gallery, digital and in person, because visibility changes how students see themselves. There is a documented difference between making something and having it seen. The exhibition is where the student becomes an artist. The platform at the YouthLensInitiative.org handles submission, discovery, and global photo challenges, and is already live. The movement is a long-term vision. Local partners around the world running their own certified cohorts under our curriculum and ethics framework. The workshop is the engine, the archive is the product, the movement is the legacy. The curriculum is 4 sessions and the sequence is deliberate. Each session expands the student's frame from the world around them inward to themselves. Session 1 will focus on observation and perspective. It will begin with the technical fundamentals, ISO, framing, light, composition, but the real question driving the session is what makes a photograph meaningful rather than just accurate. Students do a photo walk and take 3 to 5 intentional images. This matters because intentionality is a skill that has to be taught. Most of these students have taken thousands of photos, but none of them have been asked to be deliberate about it. Session 2 will focus on neighborhood and environment, and will ask students to photograph the places that shape them, with a critical focus on consent and ethics. Why does consent appear in Session 2? Because many of these students have had their own images taken and shared without permission. Session 3 will focus on identity and expression, which moves more into portraiture. So how do you photograph a person and capture something true about them? This session is designed to produce empathy as a technical outcome. And finally, for session 4, it will focus on storytelling and pride. This is where students curate, selecting 3 to 5 strongest images, writing an artist statement, and sequencing their work for the public exhibition. Every session produces work that enters a permanent archive. The program ends with a public gallery that treats students' work with the seriousness it deserves. So, most youth programs that expand quickly end up diluting their mission. The curriculum shifts slightly at each new site. The ethics standards drift, the archive becomes inconsistent. What looks like growth is actually fragmentation, but the hub and spoke model is specifically designed to prevent that. The Youth Lens HQ in Philadelphia owns the platform, the curriculum, and the ethics framework. Those never change. What localize and should localize is everything else: community themes, language, partner type, exhibition format. A cohort in Nairobi should look and feel rooted in Nairobi. A cohort in Seoul should feel like Seoul. But every facilitator at every site will have been trained by us, and every student's work will enter the same permanent global archive. The hub scales globally, the spokes stay local, and quality never gets diluted. This is also enforced by a 4-level train-the-trainer certification pathway. No one runs a cohort without completing all 10 training modules covering mission, visual literacy, AI literacy, photograph basics, ethics, consent, curation, and submission portal, impact measurement, and student safety. The 4 levels: trainee, certified, facilitator, site lead, and regional partner creates a pipeline where quality compounds rather than erodes. Most youth serving programs assume good intentions are enough. Well, we know they are not. Intent without training produces well-meaning harm, and that is not acceptable when we are working with students aged 10 to 14. So how exactly will we measure impact? And we'll do this through 3 dimensions: participation, transformation, and continuation. Our outcome benchmarks are informed by 2 bodies of research. The first is the photo voice literature, specifically the 10-year systematic review of photo voice projects with youth in the United States, published on ResearchGate, which documents consistent improvements in self-confidence, social connectedness, and a sense of voice across dozens of programs. The second is the 2019 UChicago Consortium on School Research Report on Arts Education and Social Emotional Learning Outcomes, which identifies social self-expression, identity development, and self-management as the measurable SEL domains most consistently strengthened through structured arts programs. On a 1 to 5 pre-post scale, we are targeting confidence in visual storytelling growing from 2.1 to 4.3, ability to critically evaluate whether an image is trustworthy from 1.8 to 4.0, and sense that their own perspective matters from 2.6 to 4.5. These are ambitious targets benchmarked against outcomes documented in comparable programs, not claims of results we have already achieved. They are the standard we are designed to meet, and the standard we will report against honestly after cohort 1. For continuation, we expect 75% of partner sites to renew for a second cohort and 60% of students to continue submitting work after workshop closes. We are not asking you to trust a vision. We are asking you to fund the data that proves it. So I want to be specific about what already exists because there's an important difference between asking for funding to build something and asking for funding to deploy something. This is a second kind of ask. The platform is already live at youthblendsinitiative.org with real user accounts, Google O authentication, photo submission, and a permanent archive. The 4-session curriculum is fully written with session plans, discussion scripts, consent forms, exhibition templates, and student workbooks are complete and ready to hand to a partner site. The 10-module train-the-trainer certification pathway is designed with standardized rubrics, impact measurement tools, and cohort reporting templates. An active research is in progress connecting arts education funding disparities to youth identity development grounded on photo voice methodology, grand arts education findings, and Brookings SEL research. None of this requires another planning phase. This funding request is for running a first cohort with real students and generating real evidence that makes the second and third cohorts undeniable. So exactly where would the money go? Well, every dollar is allocated to serve students directly, and I want to explain the logic behind each line, not just the percentages. 35% goes to student materials and equipment for 15 to 20 students, cameras, workbooks, and consent materials. Cameras specifically because asking students in under-resourced communities to tell their stories on whatever broken device they happen to own communicates something about whose work matters. Real equipment is not a luxury, it's a statement of intent. 21% goes to the lead facilitator's honorarium across 4 sessions and exhibition preparation. Volunteerism is not sustainable and tends to produce programs that disappear after one cycle. Paying facilitators means we can ask for accountability, apply our standards, and renew partnerships. 14% covers exhibition production, so printing, display materials, and venue. 17% will cover platform hosting, storage, and technical infrastructure to archive student work permanently. 7% funds pre and post impact measurement, including the full cohort report delivered to every supporter. 6% is contingency for transportation, additional materials, or partner site needs. I want to come back to that 12-year-old in North Philadelphia. She is already online almost constantly. That is a documented fact. She has almost certainly already encountered AI-generated images designed to mislead her. That is a documented fact. She is right now in the development window where her sense of self, her sense of voice, her belief in whether her perspective matters, all of it is being formed. And right now, none of the institutions that are supposed to serve her handed her a camera, a curriculum, or a public audience. We have already built the platform. We have written the curriculum. We have designed the quality controls. We have the research foundation. The first cohort does not need a planning phase. It needs the investment to happen. What you fund today is not a workshop. It is a 12-year-old standing in front of a gallery wall, looking at a photograph she took of a story that is hers, that will exist permanently, and realizing, maybe for the first time, that her perspective was worth keeping. Help us give young people the lens they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tim. That was a thoughtful note to end our presentation on. And a big thank you to all our day two presenters, Victor, Scarlett, Michaela, and Tim, and to every student who presented across both mornings of this showcase. We have around like 8 projects across 2 days and one extraordinary display of what students can do when they are given the chance. So please send them all your applause in the chat. And now, the moment we have been building on, it is my great pleasure to announce the award of Lil Venture Fund for the May to November 2026 funding cycle. For anyone less familiar, the Lil Venture Fund is how the lab puts real resources behind student ventures. Through our Idea Action Global Pitch competition, students pitch their projects, and the strongest and the most promising among them receive funding to take their next concrete step. This is not theoretical money. It pays for the website, the prototype, the test kits, the printing, the specific things that move a project from idea to impact. So let me give you a sense of this cycle. Our funding pool for this round is 6,000 US dollars. Demand was extraordinary. Across all the entries we received, students requested roughly 6 times the funding we have available. That is a wonderful problem to solve, and it speaks to the ambition of this community. So after careful review, we're funding 13 projects this cycle, including 2 that will receive their full requested amount. So let's celebrate them. I'll go through each of our 13 awardees, and I'll encourage you to cheer every one of them on in the chat as we go. So receiving the top allocation of this cycle, which is $1,000, is Empower Asia, led by Evan Zhang. Empower Asia was the strongest overall pitch in the cohort. Live sessions running since August 2025, real users, and a smart employer-facing model with a credible path to sustainability. The grant funds advertising and website development. Congratulations! And also $600 goes to St. Martin Digital Learning Project, led by Amisha Singh, a high-impact project with credible on-the-ground partner. This is a partial contribution toward a larger fundraising goal, and Amisha has committed to raising the remainder independently. Congratulations, Amisha! And $600 goes to behavioral design card game, led by Aurora Huang, an innovative concept grounded in strong behavioral design thinking. The funds will cover printing the first 60 to 80 decks and an initial round of pilot testing. Congratulations, Aurora. And $500 goes to Swap Card, led by Emily Liu, George Zhang, and Nancy Lee. Swap Card is a returning LVF grantee with a proven track record and the Diamond Challenge semi-finalist. This grant supports their final development stage and beta launch. Congratulations to the whole team. And $450 goes to the Leukemia Warrior Support Platform led by Martina Gao. This project is already producing real results. 50 users, 24 articles, and a physician interview. The grant covers illustrated booklet design, printing, and website hosting. It's most tangible next step. Congratulations, Martina. And $500 and the first of our two full grants goes to Temprano, led by Caroline Rickard. Temprano delivered the best impact per dollar in the entire cohort at roughly $10 per person screened. Caroline has deep authentic ties to the community she serves, and the funds will cover fit test distribution and outreach materials. Congratulations. And $500 goes to PayMap, led by Claire Way. And some of you may remember PayMap from yesterday's showcase. It's a technically sophisticated clinical decision support tool. And this grant covers interface development and pilot user recruitment with clinical validation work to follow. And congratulations once again. $500 goes to Equip You, led by Samuel Liu, a wonderful distinctive concept that bridges STEM and the humanities through 3D printed reproductions of ancient artifacts. The funds cover professional fabrication of the first artifact set and the website launch. Congratulations. And $300 goes to Partake, a nonprofit art rental initiative led by Jackson Kim. Partake has shown strong traction, growing from 50 to 120 attendees across 2 events and raising $350 for artists. The grant funds interscholastic event costs so the project can expand beyond a single school. Congratulations, Jackson. And $250 goes to the online ordering system led by Pula Shi. The system is already built and awaiting school approval to launch. And this grant supports promotion and refinement during the review period. Congratulations, Pula. And $290, this is also the second of our 2 full grants, goes to the Sunflower Project by Ruhi Yue, who also this was the smallest ask in the cohort and a remarkably efficient one. The project has already raised 5,000 Canadian dollars with more than 30 volunteers, and this single platform cost directly unlocks its launch. So congratulations, Ricky. $200 goes to the math tutoring project led by Harry Zhang, a project with demonstrated results, including an AMC 8 cohort in which 3 of 4 students improved. This seed grant goes toward developing a centralized platform, the most scalable part of the project. Congratulations, Harry. And $150 goes to Alice Space Coast Branch, led by Madison Shi, an established community service organization with more than 1,000 volunteers hours to its name. The grant is directed towards booth materials and educational supplies, where it will have a highest ongoing impact. Congratulations, Madison. Okay, that is all 13 of our LVF awardees for the May and November 2026 cycle. Congratulations to every one of you and to everyone who pitched. And the awardees, you will receive details on fund disbursement and monitoring procedures shortly, so please stay tuned. Before we close, there are two more groups of people I want to recognize. First, a warm welcome to our incoming limited partners for the May to November 2026 cycle, the people who help steward this fund and make these awards possible. Pierce Zhao, Terrence Zhang, Jonathan Miao, Lisa Zhou, Richard Chen, Daisy Jing, Ian Gu, Dylan Chen, Andy Liu, Arjun Bansal, Brighton Wan, Michaela Vernick, and Hafid Karachu. Welcome aboard. We're very thrilled to help you. And a heartfelt thank you to our outgoing limited partners from the November 2025 to April 2026 cycle, whose work made this past cycle possible. Lucas Wang, Victoria Chernolusky, Pierce Zhao, Terrence Jiang, Juliana Ru, James Politz, and Claire Yang. Thank you for your service and your care. And with that, we bring the Spring 2026 Student Research and Innovation Showcase to a close. So over these 2 mornings, we have met these remarkable presenters, celebrated 4 Golden Quill writers, and founded 13 students' ventures. But more than the numbers, what stays with me is the spirit behind them. Every project we have seen began with a student who looked at the world and thought, I could make this a little bit better, and then set out to actually do it. To our presenters and our award winners, our limited partners, and the entire team at the Leadership and Innovation Lab, thank you so much. And to all of you who joined us and cheered the students on, thank you for being part of it. That is a wrap on Spring 2026. We cannot wait to see what you build next. Take care, everyone. Thank you so much, and congratulations once again.